The New Britain Board of Education, providing students with a high-quality education.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of New Britain Board of Education to order at 6:02. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Kane, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You could please call the roll.
Ms. Gail Sanders Connolly.
Here.
Mr. Merrill Gay.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Listro.
Here.
Mr. Anthony Payne is deceased. Ms.
Excused.
Monica Dawkins.
Here.
Mr. Anthony Payne McKay.
Here.
Mr. Matthew Marino.
Here.
Ms. Annie Parker.
Here.
Ms. Diana Reyes.
Here.
Ms. Tina Santana.
Right here. And Mr. Kane with a C may join virtually around 6:30. We could take a moment of meditation. Thank you. Now we'll have public participation. We have 2 people signed up. Mr. William Clark.
My big reason for showing up today is I'd like to see that at least CSDMB make a couple of actions on the buses. Let's hold our contractors to apply a 2% requirement in rectifying the shortcomings that they have in the work and service that they provide to the city of New Britain. Showing up with buses an hour late to pick the kids up. That has nothing to do with what time the kids are getting home. Say at 2:30 they have the last bathroom break. I'm talking about pre-Ks. And getting home 2 hours after that 2:30 is a gross problem. It has to be rectified. I see that the bus companies need to be held to a standard. Maybe they do have problems with bus drivers and personnel and things like that, but maybe we should be looking into whether it isn't getting the bus drivers, but maybe, I'm just saying maybe, it's the bus driver, the company that the bus drivers work for, the administration of it, the running of it, and I really have problems with citizens in New Britain paying for their kids to go to school, and they get to school half hour, 45 minutes late every day. And this is for student and specialty bus companies. So it's spread around. It needs to be addressed. And in conjunction with that, I'd like to see a safe environment for the students coming to school at intersections, bus stops, where everybody from here, from New Britain, knows we're out of control as far as suggested stop signs, so suggested lights, suggested stop before you make a right turn on red. I see in the neighborhood of the schools that I'm near, and all the way to work, cars just blowing through intersections at 25, 35, 40 miles an hour. They just use their peripheral vision and just go through the intersections. This is a massively important time to protect our kids. Beginning of school and going home from school. I think an effort could be made to at least flatline the really negligent driving habits of so many people in New Britain. That's about it. Okay?
Thank you. Ms. Desiree Costa. Alderwoman Costa.
Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. I came in tonight because I wanted to highlight a program that my son is involved in at the high school. It's really exciting. I didn't know anything about it until he was invited to participate. The program is led by Mr. Sorge, I think that's his name. Okay, great. So it is, my husband wrote about this, I'm just gonna read it because it's so great. We wanted to highlight a really cool program at New Britain High School, the Future Business Leaders of America program. The Future Business Leaders of America program is a new school club that introduces students to business principles, local business leaders, and future planning for community education and business initiatives. My son Patrick has been involved with the club since the beginning of the school year, and he raves about it pretty regularly, and he does. He talks about it all the time, all of the opportunities he has, the people he's meeting, the things that they're doing. He talks about it every Wednesday. The club visited, last week, the club visited Southern Connecticut State University for a field trip that featured Connecticut State Senator Will Haskell as the main speaker, and there was a lot of value in what he presented to young people and how to get involved, locally in politics and otherwise. And it was a really fruitful conversation for the kids. They were engaged, and it was a really good conversation. The program is a credit to New Britain High School's teacher, Mr. Sorge, who leads it. And we encourage anyone with children at New Britain High School to participate in these programs and other after-school clubs or programs. There's, I'm sure, a list of them. I wish I had the list to encourage people to participate. I know Mr. Sorge has tried to bring our students, or did bring our students, to the Friendship Center and is looking to get our students more involved with community events and community affairs. It's just an excellent, partnership between the community and the schools, and we're really grateful, and my son is really thriving in it. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, and Mr. Berthia might be upset with me, Patrick also participates in the engineering program, which is also really great. And so kudos to Mr. Berthia in the engineering program, but thank you.
Thank you. I know. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? One more time. Would anybody like to address the board? All right, public participation is now closed. We will move on to election of officers. Let me get my cheat sheet out. We're going to open the floor for election of president.
And move to renominate you as president of the board.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Now we will take a voice vote. So all those in favor of myself remaining chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. We will now move into vice president. Is there any nominations for vice president?
I nominate
Mr. Marilyn Gay.
Thank you.
I'll second.
second. Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Congratulations. Open the floor for nominations for secretary.
I'd like to nominate Joey Lestro for secretary.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Congratulations, everybody. Committee chairs. I'd like to appoint Mr. Tony Kane with a C to Finance, Facilities, and Transportation. Ms. Parker to Personnel. Mr. Gay automatically gets policy. And Mr. Kane for curriculum. Everybody accepts that. Awesome. All right, moving on, new business, item A. Review memorandum of understanding between Consolidated School District of New Britain and Local 871, New Britain Federation of Teachers to modify Article 412 of the current collective bargaining agreement. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
If I may, Madam Chair, I'd like to recommend that the board invite Ms. Manning and Dr. Sanders to that executive session, please.
All right. Take a motion to go into executive session with the full board, Dr. Sanders and Ms. Mary Ellen Manning.
So moved.
All those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
We will be back. All right, we are back. On to reports. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. As has been and will continue to be a recent pattern, but it will continue in the future, your report tonight is a preview for the board of what is our district newsletter, our relatively new district newsletter. So you've got a few things in there for your review. I'm going to highlight just one thing for you at this point, and that's I'd really like to thank Ms. Sandra Sanford, Ms. Karen Falvey, lots of staff, Ms. Jen Wright, who really made a successful event. This morning, we were privileged to host Lieutenant Governor Susan Bisowitz at Smith School to launch her computing and coding challenge. It was great to feature the wonderful things that we're doing here in New Britain Public Schools. We had over 100 4th and 5th graders coding today, all simultaneously in the Smith School cafeteria, led by an online tool, an online partner called CodeJoy. It was something really to see. Again, I'm thankful to the staff members that made it happen. Thankful that the Lieutenant Governor would select us for launching her critical and really, really well-deserved initiative. Just one other quick update for the board, other than what's written in your report, on which I'm happy to answer any questions. The board's heard a lot about what the so-called science of reading legislation. I want to thank Ms. Amy Anderson, Ms. Kristen Denegre, and Ms. Evelise Velasquez for their continued leadership of that. We actually found out we have just slightly more time than we thought we did, just a little bit more time. So the deadline of December 15th that we've talked to you about before is actually to declare that we will be making a decision. In other words, by the 15th, we have to tell them whether or not we are selecting one of the products from the quote-unquote list, the approved list, which we do intend to do. After a lot of input from over 100 stakeholders, we have narrowed the list from 5 down to 2. And next week, we're going to be doing a deeper presentation to our experts in-house that we hope points us toward a solid decision on that really, really important purchase. It's incredibly difficult. I'm thankful to the leadership of those 3 staff members, because typically if we had been given more time by the state, we would have done a full pilot, a 3-month pilot, a 5-month pilot. The timeline given to us by the state really doesn't allow for that. So we're doing our best under kind of, I guess you might say we're working under duress. It's a multi-million-dollar decision that we do plan on using our ESSER funds to help us with. The state has said they will be providing some funds to support that, but they haven't said how many funds they would be giving to support that. So we're not counting those chickens before they're hatched. But that's another really big, important piece of work that's happening in the district tonight, right now. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions if any board member has any based on the rest of the written report.
Seeing none, we will move to committee reports. We'll start with curriculum.
Yeah, curriculum met, we had a second presentation on the Communities Creating Change curriculum and how it would fit in New Britain. That's not on the agenda tonight, but will be forthcoming in the future. We had an update on the reading materials and where we stood in that process on the comprehensive reading program mandate. And we discussed an academic purchase for ebooks, which is on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. Policy.
We met and talked about what we will be doing in the future, but we don't have anything coming to the board today.
Thank you. Personnel.
We had a discussion about the report on the number of jobs that are open, and we saw that there was a decrease in the high school, and the middle school seems to have the most jobs that needs to be filled. But it's an improvement from in the past, And then the other item that we have is under new business tonight, so just those two things.
Thank you so much. Board reports. Santana.
You know, I am actually really happy to report that Slade got the Mr. Holland's Opus grant, which gives them $38,000, I believe it is, for new instruments, and so I am really excited about that. Also, Slade has some wonderful activities that are coming up as far as their PTO goes. They're going to be meeting next on the 14th. And their bingo, which is my all-time favorite. We have turkey bingo, and now we're going to be having our Christmas bingo, which I have a lot of fun at. I'm sorry, something about bingo does it for me. The 15th as well. But just as a really big shout out to the Slade staff, Mr. Richard Tchaikovsky, who is the social worker there at Slade. At Thanksgiving, he actually did a large turkey donation for those of our school community that are food insecure. And so I didn't even get a chance to just say thank you to the general public for supporting him and his effort. This is actually the third year that he's done it. And the second year that I've helped him. So CJ is now in 7th grade. This is the second year that I've shown up in my minivan and just been like, hey, where do you need me to get these to? And there we go. And we have a wonderful time. And he announced that he did get a little bit more support. So for Thanksgiving, we were able to help our local school, which was Lincoln, and give them some turkeys. And so they were able to give some to their family that we had gotten a few extra from Slate. And we're going to be doing that again for Thanksgiving. So for Christmas, rather, we're going to be doing some Christmas meals also and sharing those. So I just wanted to shout out Slate if I could.
Thank you.
I attended the Capes Caps convention and attended some really great workshops. A couple that I thought were just fascinating one was the Whitney Stones Project. It's where students actually research their own neighborhoods and find out the stories of people who were enslaved right where they live. And then they end their project with like a placard where an enslaved person either lived, worked, or worshipped. I thought it was amazing. And then I also attended one on the teacher residency program, which I know our district is already involved in, but it really kind of opened my eyes to the importance of growing our own right within the community. And it's something that, I hope we revisit in the near future and, kind of up our commitment to. But it was a really great presentation.
Awesome, thank you. And Mr. Marino.
Yeah, last month I touched on a large group of our kids throughout the district that are a part of the PAL football program and cheerleading program. The 8-year-olds won the regional championship. They do not travel to the national tournament. They don't have one at that level. The 10-year-olds also won the regional championship. They lost a hard-fought game down in Florida yesterday by 4 points on the last play of the game at the goal line, which was tough to watch. And then we have 3 cheer squads competing both today and tomorrow. So that will bring good news at next month's meeting.
It's tough watching those 10-year-olds. It will rip your heart out, especially last year. Anyway, we won't go there. Okay. Anybody else? Student reports. My favorite.
I just want to, hello everyone. I just wanted to highlight some of the good stuff that we've been doing at New Britain High School, so some like volunteering that we have done for the local community. So I just wanted to just give a shout out to like the Interact Club, which is like a club that's really just based on community service, and it's partnered by the Rotary Club here at New Britain. So some of the things that we have done, all the way back to Thanksgiving, we have done some volunteer service at the Friendship Center here in New Britain, and so what we did really was just go, like a group of students, so we went to the Friendship Center and we really just organized some food, got some people, so as they come in, they get to, their food and meals really quicker, compared to last year. Another thing that we have done, which is last week with the Christmas tree lighting, and basically what we did was, so we went downtown and we really just we had a table set up and we were giving out raffle tickets for people to come, and it's for free. So they get the raffle tickets and they go to another table and get like munchkins and hot chocolates. So that was like some pretty good stuff that we've done. And I would say, and I'm like just really happy just to report that I'd like to see some more of the volunteer opportunities that we get from New Britain. So if we could just like maybe open up to other organizations and allow different students and more organizations to just open up to let the community really allow, volunteer and help out.
Thank you.
I'm reporting about the student council meeting we had 2 weeks ago. Class of 23's meeting talked about safety of students in the building, yearbook and prom. Safety regarding to reducing hallway conflicts, that we do have still at the school. Yearbook talking about layout and superlatives that might be outdated, unneeded, or superlatives that we wanted to see added to the yearbook. Prom was the discussion of different terms instead of just king and queen. Students could run for whichever sovereign title they wanted, or instead of just king or queen, they could run for a neutral term of prom royalty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to item 4, we have a presentation on the Slade Middle School HVAC system design proposal with option for approval as a purchase order.
Yes, thank you, and Ms. Gonzalez will join me to help with details. What we have before you tonight, board members, is a little bit of something that doesn't quite fit. So the work that you have described in this part of your agenda is to design the HVAC installations that we're planning for Slade School. It's a very complex project that Ms. Gonzalez has been working hard on. What we have are 2 critical projects that need to happen simultaneously that are funded from completely different sources. So what we have is a roof to be replaced, funded from city bonded money. And because all of our HVAC equipment sits on top of that roof, it's the opportune time to replace the outdated HVAC equipment rather than one and then the other. So, but the HVAC equipment is slated to be funded through ESSER funds that are overseen by the board. So we've got a very complex project, not just from a construction perspective, but from a funding perspective too. The work you have here is, again, I guess it's a little bit complex itself. So these are architectural services, which according to your policies, do not require a bid. They're one of the items that are bid exempt. However, because of the quantity, $350,000, I wanted that to come before you just in the sake of transparency. We said potentially approved as a purchase order. That again is a little bit of a misnomer. We're trying to kind of put a square peg in a round hole. We don't have a purchase order for you tonight. This is a potential future contract with an architecture firm. So again, if you chose to take action on it tonight, you could simply kind of endorse the plan, so to speak, but we were kind of trying to find a way to make it fit into something that you would typically do. So again, the services proposed here, proposed by Kessel Booz, which I'm sure we sometimes just call them KBA, is a company that knows the city and our buildings well. It's their proposal to design, again, the HVAC system and then track that project over time. And I'll leave it to Ms. Gonzalez to fill in the blanks if I didn't cover any details.
I think you covered a lot of it, the majority of it. Again, the proposal you see in front of you is for the architectural design, the as-built, the AIA documents, which are the construction documents that yield the specifications that we're going to need to go out to bid for the general contractor for the larger project. So this is the work that's included in the proposal that you see in front of you. I brought, just so you can see, one of the 3 books, but this is the work that goes into it with the specifications that they're writing. They're using a feasibility study from an HVAC vendor who has already provided us the conditions of the rooftop units and all of the ventilation and air conditioning for Slade already. So that work is also going to be informing the work in front of us or ahead of us with the architectural design.
The only other thing I would add before we take any questions from the board is this is not yet a contract. Of course, once it becomes a contract, that contract would need to come before the board. But we are on a short timeline. Ms. Gonzalez has until just mid-January to get this project moving forward, because it does involve the Office of School Grants, and, what's the R? Office
Review.
of- huh?
Review.
Review, thank you, Office of School Grants Review, at the state, and we are on their timeline for the reimbursement that potentially comes back to the city from the roof side of the project that's bonded with the city.
Any questions?
I don't know if it's beyond the scope of the project, but just wondering, will we consider, is there any money to consider any improvements to the building envelope or insulation as part of this, or is that beyond what we have as far as funding?
That's just not a part of the funding
Okay,
for this
all right,
specific
I just
project,
noticed it
yeah.
in the architectural, design.
Yeah.
They would talk about it, but I know there wasn't any.
Oh, were
funding
you looking
attached
at the
to
sample that was on
Yeah,
there?
just the proposal, I know it said,
Yeah.
if there were any improvements, it would go beyond what the contract was, but I wasn't sure if that was something that you were considering at this time.
No, it's not a part of the scope. If
Okay.
in fact there is something that is determined at, once you start laying out the work, if there's something wrong structurally, then that's something that we'll review, but the board would have to approve that work as well.
Okay.
That's separate.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
sure thing.
Ms. Santana?
I don't know if it's not gonna be a question, it's actually gonna be a comment, really more a thank you. And I wanted to say thank you because I was part of the conversation piece of it and was able to see all of the hard work that you have put into this, the research, the behind the scenes, the conversations, together with Paul Salina, and I just can't say thank you enough. So by the time we got to the actual meeting for the school board committee, to actually hear, hey, this is what you were considering, the companies, what you were looking at, and that you came down to Castle Blues that we have had long-standing, wonderful relationship with. And all jokes aside, and we can all joke around, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of work that went into that, and I just can't say thank you to you guys enough for just that booklet isn't even a full reflection. That's just the one cute, pretty book with a binder. There was a lot more paperwork that went into it, and so I just can't say thank you enough for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess my question, maybe to piggyback off of Ms. Santana, is I noticed that the specs are Chamberlain, and I know that KBA does have a long-standing relationship with us, but how do we go out to bid with specs from Chamberlain? And how did they give us a $350,000 quote without specs from Slade?
So great question. What you see in front of you, what was included was just an addendum. It's a sample of the work that you'll see that's generated from the proposal that you see in front of you. That's not related to the Slade project. It's just for your review, so you can see what's yielded from that proposal.
It says an example of
It's
the
an
level.
example.
the
It says
level of-
sample
the
everywhere.
The level of detail,
Yeah.
okay, because I just
Yeah.
see he's got the grand total project cost of $350, but nothing more, no more detail, but gives us Chamberlain specs.
Well,
Okay.
you'll see that detail, when you see that detail, it's after we get the contract, once this is approved, we'll get an AIA contract, and that'll be reviewed by everyone, and that's where you see the specifications there, the level of detail there.
Did we go out to bid for the architect, or we just stay with Castle Booze?
Did we
This
go
did-
out to bid, you
Did
said?
this go out to bid?
Yeah.
No, this did not.
No, the
There
HVAC
was-
portion, no.
Not the HVAC portion, no.
No.
That's what we're
No,
saying.
the
is-
roofs did, yes.
The roof did, because under OSCGR
Right.
requirements, we must go out to
Right.
bid for that level, yes.
Right, that's one of the complexities here, is the board policy doesn't require that it goes out to bid.
Right.
But
I'm just curious if we do go out to bid. I
No,
know,
I think given a longer time frame, we probably would have.
Yes.
But given the short kind of time frame with which we have to make this decision, it's a company that's familiar with us and we're familiar with them. But again, with the quantity, it's not something that I wanted to do just out of my office. I wanted to make sure the board was aware.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Yes.
This is, for Slade, it's not the whole school, it's just certain areas?
It's a great question. So the feasibility study we performed with RZ, the vendor, has given us a breakdown of all of the units, condensing units, the rooftop units that need replacing immediately. And then it also includes a portion of the work which is to add cooling to certain portions of the building. So it's kind of an a la carte list that we have to kind of go through and kind of prioritize, but that's the gist of it.
So that's included in the price?
This is just the design.
This is the design.
Just the design.
Okay.
Yes, this is the design.
Any other questions? Awesome, thank you. I know you're a busy bee,
Okay.
but our schools need it. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you,
so.
Ms.
Thank you,
Gonzalez.
thank you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Is there any items that would like to be reviewed? No, hearing none?
You know what,
Oh.
if you can, I see, if you can just, I just wanna make a comment, that's all.
Item C?
Yeah.
Anything else? No. So we will approve items A and B. Motion to approve A and B, and then D through P. So item C, entertain a motion to accept the report of personnel transaction and extracurricular appointments. Second.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Okay. And the only thing I just want to say is, I mean, we look at these report each month, and the list has been very, very long for all of the schools, pretty much. And to see the work that the personnel department, with Ms. Nicole and Mirella, I just want to say we appreciate it, because I know how hard it is to find people, but you guys are turning over every rock trying to get people, so we appreciate that.
Right, so just for, I don't know, since our last meeting, the count on certified is 5, support personnel is 11, so that's a lot of people in a month, in 30 days to try to onboard. All right, all those in favor signify by saying, oh, unless is there more discussion? Sorry.
Can we I just wanted to, just discuss item D really quick.
Okay, so let's stay with C just for a second.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, nope. All right, so all those in favor of accepting the report of personnel signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. So item D, entertain a motion to accept the NBHS School Resource Officer report.
Second.
Just some discussion, so according to, this report, within a 2-month time frame, it looks like there were 13 summons that were issued to New Britain High students. So I know we were getting quarterly reports. Do we know, I don't have the information in front of me, was this, similar to past reports? Is this an increase? I was just curious to see like where it's going.
I don't know. Mr. Pierce might be able to comment on that better than I.
It's a decrease. Unfortunately, I don't know. Unfortunately, I checked before I came tonight anticipating such a question. And my first report to the superintendent last year was December 2nd, so it was 1 month after the first quarter, but on that report there were 33 summons. So I think it's fair to say that it's a decrease.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
All those in favor, any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Was that all to come off of consent? All right. Perfect. All right, so new business. A. Make a motion to approve the 2023 Board of Education meeting calendar.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Any abstentions? Okay, abstain. No.
Just one note for the board on that, Madam President, is I'll be in touch with you. I'll be recommending 2 or 3 Board of Education budget workshops to take place early next month.
Yes.
So that we can review and deliberate my recommended budget to the board.
We did talk about that in personnel, I mean in finance and facilities.
Do you have a sense of which week that might, or weeks?
I'm flexible. But now that we have this calendar, obviously, we will work around this and we'll work at whatever the board president thinks will work best for the members of the board. We do have by city charter, we do have a deadline of December 15th. I have been in touch with Mayor Stewart, anticipating that perhaps our process might take longer than it has in the past. She was amenable to entertaining the idea of a potential extension, but I'd rather not ask for the extension if we don't have to.
Will we get our annual Christmas present of the budget?
Yes. Where's Ms. Alfano? Ms. Alfano can be your elf and deliver you a binder of the.
Awesome, thank you.
Does it typically have a ball on it?
I was just gonna say with a Rudolph nose, and I would like, leave some glitter as you go. No bows, you can put it in a bag. All right. All right, so, did we vote on that one? Yes. Did we vote on A?
Yes.
We did, thank you. All right, so item B, to entertain a motion to approve the 2023 Board of Education grievance hearing calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Perfect, motion carries. So item C, entertain a motion to approve new position request for 3 FTE campus safety officers for middle and high schools. Need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
I had a clarifying question.
Yes.
Under rationale, it says that for grant purposes, it's noted as emotional safety support staff. I was just curious as to why the difference in title. Is it funding or?
It's for funding purposes. That's actually not new. We currently have one of our CSOs across the district is funded through the ESSER grant. Ms. Sanford worked closely with officials at the State Department of Education, so we're being fully transparent with them on how we plan to spend the money. So that title was recommended by the State Department itself as to what it could and should be called in order to be compliant with the ESSER grant guidelines. Please.
Just out of curiosity, then, are all of the positions for them 12 months?
These are 10-month positions, I believe.
This says 12 months.
No?
I'm just curious which school they're working on 12 months.
It does say 12.
Let's say it's a 12-month.
Dr. Sanders, these are 12-month?
Yes, because
I
the other one was
apologize.
12 months.
I apologize, thank you for the correction. As are other CSOs, correct? Other CSOs are 10-month positions or 12-month?
Dana's are both. But this one is a 12 month because the one who's previously, the one who's already in this position is 12 months.
Thank you for the
So it's-
correction.
It's similar,
So it's in alignment with the position that's already funded similarly to these.
correct.
Thank you.
So then you're gonna have 4 of them at 12 months in the district to work throughout the year, and the others are gonna be 10 months?
So yeah, correct, and we would use the 12-month positions to support summer studies, activities in the summertime, such as that.
So what I don't think I saw, and I apologize for not asking during committee, because that was you called that out, emotional safety support staff. How does that differ from a behavior support from a BSA?
From our perspective,
There is.
they will be in the role of CSO as we know it.
Okay.
It will not be, look like the role of a BSA. So that title is for grant application purposes, and again, we've been perfectly transparent with the State Department. So we are bringing them on as what we know as CSOs. Anything else is as recommended that we call it by the State Department of Education. So basically, the emotional safety support staff is what it will be stated in our grant revision that Ms. Sanford has already submitted to the State Department of Education. But again, we've been perfectly transparent with them about the role.
And the CSOs have training on like social and emotional aspects for the students?
That would be more towards the BSA type role. And actually, Dr. Sanders and I were just talking about that today, about I need to understand better those distinctions, but CSOs are mainly for campus security, meaning our most emergent or emergency type responses. When there is a disturbance in the hallway, when students are trying to leave campus, those types of emergencies. The BSAs are much more about the emotional support, the restorative practices. The CSOs fill a different role.
I think when we had our discussion and this came up, one of the things you mentioned that they would be able to go over to the park and those kids, right?
So that's something that we will be discussing. I think in the past it was said by previous administration that a CSO's quote-unquote jurisdiction was just on school grounds or within the building. I don't particularly agree with that assessment. I think there's nothing wrong with a CSO, under the direction of our director, Jesse Johnson, having a chance to walk out and visit the nearby park where we know kids go to when they leave campus, or going to the nearby convenience store that we know when kids go when they happen to leave campus. There's nothing that I know of legally that precludes our staff from doing that.
And I said, I'll repeat this, I don't know if it's gonna do any good, that we used to have park police that kept the kids from congregating in the park the way they do now. And, I mean, I don't know if the city can do anything to help us, but it would be nice if that would be a consideration to take back to the mayor's office and see if there's anything that could be done, a grant written or something that can help us, because they can't control what's going on in the building and be outside too. And that they tried that when we first had the officers there. They used to, not officers, the deans and security officers used to go out and try to round the kids up. But there's a lot going on in the building, so you can't be in two places at once. So if the city could help out in some way, that would be great, because, we have this budget, but we can't do everything with the amount that we're getting. So if someone could please share that with that group. Thank you.
That would be Mr. Kane joining us. I think he will mute himself. And then the 12-month position, does that cause issues with the local 818 contract or no?
Dr. Seamers, are there contractual concerns regarding that being a 12-month position?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kane, if you could mute yourself? Or not?
Maybe it's the kids.
All right, so item D. Oh, all those in favor signify, I see, sorry, Mr. Kane.
Two quick questions, sorry.
Yes.
Offhand, do we know how many campus safety officers this would bring us up to at each campus?
Repeat that?
So the addition of these three, how many would be at each building after the addition of these three?
I think the middle school will have 2. Right.
Two.
The high school, I'm not sure offhand, but remember they already have 1.
Yeah.
With the addition of, it'll be 9 at the high school, so with this additional one, it'll be 10.
Okay, so 2 at each middle school and 10 at the high school.
And I
Okay.
can get the exact numbers.
Okay, all right. And then the other question was, could you just forward, I tried the hyperlink in the document and it wasn't working for the description. Could you just forward the description to the board, please? Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one.
Yes.
I'm just curious, because I know we covered that there's a difference between 10 months and 12. Do any of the current 10-month employees get offered the position before it's then reopened, or does that eventually create a problem for us?
So it'll follow all the typical union contractual rules. However, these positions are very specifically advertised as ESSER funded. We're not anticipating that they last longer than a year and a half. So somebody who currently has a locally funded 10-month job may not be interested in a 12-month job that is, at least at the plan right now, only for a year and a half.
Anybody else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, it's Mr. Kane. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries.
Thank you for your support.
Item D, entertain a motion to approve the contract between Consolidated School District of New Britain and Specialty Transportation, Inc. for transportation services.
So as has been discussed in the Transportation Committee,
Need a motion and a
I'm sorry.
second, please. Thank you.
I apologize.
I know.
Motion?
Second.
All right. Discussion.
As we've discussed, so the board has it before it to consider extending Specialty Transportation, their contract with us, as is described here. Year one proposed is a 0% increase. Year two is a 3% increase over their current rates. We've had discussion in committee, should you consider this extension versus should you put it out to bid? I did mention at committee that I was contacted by an owner of a bus company. His statement to me was he felt he could save the board money. Of course, that's not in writing, but I did promise to bring that forward to you. It is really the decision of the board. It's not an easy decision, of course. The decision is to accept these terms as proposed or go out to bid. If we go out to bid, my opinion is this contractor is not required to stay to these terms. So if we put it out to bid, we certainly could get better pricing or not.
Any other discussion?
I'm in agreement with the superintendent for the same exact reason. I want a chance on to pay more.
Right, we had a long history of not ever going out to bid for many years.
Something like that.
40?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that road, but it does feel like we're in a time when employers find it hard to find employees, and the kinds of increases that we're seeing generally in the economy, if we can keep this at a relatively low contract increase, 0 in the first year, and 3%, that's probably as good as we're going to get.
Mr. Marino did.
Yeah, I can't help but think of the public participation from earlier and potential problems that we're unaware of with the company we're going with now. And I'm not saying they exist. I'm not saying that it's a bigger issue than we all are aware of, but at the end of the day, what's in the best interest of the district? Is it actually looking into it further, or just ignoring something that was brought to our attention and moving forward?
I think when we discussed it in committee, we asked about incidents and any concerns, if there were a lot of problems, and we got the answer that there's no overwhelming amount of problems, so.
So Ms. Gonzalez, are we seeing a pattern of lateness with our specialty transportation?
Specifically, specialty transportation is very isolated in terms of occurrences where buses are late. We see it more with the regular transportation factor, but not with specialty. That's where we are with our service has been pretty good with specialty.
Everyone that uses specialty on a regular basis.
Any other comments? Questions? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Mr. Kane, you may have been a little late. Were you opposed or were you for? You said aye, sorry. I just heard the voice.
I'm for.
Thank you.
Party for the party.
All right, motion carries. So item A,
We do have, I'd like to add an item to the agenda from our executive session, like to propose that we adopt the memorandum of understanding between the school district and local 871 regarding substitute teachers.
All right, so all those in favor of adding the item to the agenda?
Do you have a second?
Oh, I need a second, I
Second.
apologize.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adding the item to the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, now entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Consolidated School District of New Britain and Local 871, New Britain Federation of Teachers, to modify Article 412 of the current collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
We don't have to vote, right? All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.